Hey everybody, we are live. I'm Jeff with eBay Addicts, and today I got a returning guest with me. JF is here from Resale Heroes. How are you doing today, bro?
Good. I'm good. It's nice to be here.
Hey, awesome. Thanks for coming on and hanging out with us today. So go ahead and introduce yourself real quick, just in case people don't know who you are. You can tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
Yeah, so my name is Jeff with Resale Heroes. We are a full-time eBay store. We're in Canada. We're one of the biggest eBay stores in Canada, top 125, give or take, depending on the month. We specialize in video games and collectibles. We got a YouTube channel, got a pretty good store, and that's a little bit about us.
All right, awesome. And what part of Canada are you from again? I just can't remember.
So it's in Atlantic Canada. It's way to the east. It's basically right above Maine, give or ish.
Oh,
so
all right,
cool.
cool.
The border of Maine.
All right, so JF is a full-time reseller. That's all you do, morning, noon, and night, is you resell stuff, and you mainly resell on eBay. So
Yeah.
go ahead and kind of give us a little bit of your backstory real quick, kind of go over that real quick and tell everybody kind of how you got into this, because you didn't used to be a full-time reseller, your whole life. Well, how did you kind of get into leaving
Right.
your full-time job to kind of become a full-time reseller?
Yeah, sure. So I just want to say hi to everybody and thanks for dropping by. So my story, man. So back in 2015, I had moved to a different city. I was working for the Red Cross. And it's a good a good organization, really nice people, but it just doesn't pay much, right? Because it's a nonprofit. So
Right.
I opened a small hobby store at that time. That was a long time ago, just so that I'd have spending money. So I totally get where a lot of people are coming from, just to have it as a hobby and just to make some money. And it's so funny because my girlfriend at the time, she didn't get it. She thought I was crazy, but that's how I paid for us to go to the movies and to go to the restaurant and whatever. But so fast forward 6 years, I had stopped that store. I had liquidated all the stuff that we had. But so just over a year ago, in July of 2020, my business partner, Jeremy, opened a store, an eBay store. And he started with 3,000. So he bought a bunch of games, bought a couple collections, and he put them for sale. And I was working full-time at a credit union, and I started helping him part-time in August or September. And then December, we started our YouTube channel, and then we're just kind of doing the whole thing. And so in April, I was doing the full-time job. I was doing the YouTube thing. I was doing the eBay thing. And I even had some other projects on the go. And it's just so much. There's so much that needs to get done. And there's only so much time to go around. So I had to make some choices. And I made the hard choice of quitting my job. And it was a big deal, right? And so back in April, we were doing awesome, like in sales. And then the sales dropped because it was the summer slowdown right after I went full time. But that's fine. So I went full time. I'm a full time reseller as of April of this year.
Right.
And we sell only on eBay. We do a few cash sales like locally. We do the occasional trade. We do the occasional consignment, but it's like 95% eBay. Like we don't do Poshmark. We don't really do clothing that much. We don't I totally understand why people would want to do certain cross posting and all that stuff, but we like to focus on the one thing and really master the one platform. So that's where that's coming from. And now we took that 3,000, we left that money and all the profits from it in the business for months and months and months. And we actually waited a very long time before taking any money out. So now that 3,000 is just shy of 200,000 of value, not counting all the sales for the past year and a half. But so we're sitting on 200,000 of inventory that's listed that will eventually sell and basically be money in the bank at that point in time. So it's kind of, we invested a lot of money, or why we invested a lot of time really, and it's going to pay us dividends for a long time. And so now our goal is to get to 6,000 weekly again, but to do that consistently and then get to 10,000. 10,000 is our ultimate goal. So that's our ultimate goal, which might sound crazy, and again, that's per week, so that would be 40,000 a month.
Yeah, this is why I like talking to JF. It's like we feel like we're on the same wave. Like he's not talking about $10,000 a month, guys. He means $10,000 a week. So if you multiply that by 52 weeks in a year, he's talking about $500,000 in sales, and he's not talking about listed inventory. He's talking about sales. So let me say hello to a few people here in the chat. Larry is here. He says, "Hey, how are you guys doing?" I'm gonna give a shout out to Rampage Reseller. He says, "Hey, everybody. Doing a live auction, stopping in between rounds. Thanks for coming by and hanging out. Wanted to give a shout out to Sean Harris is here. eBliss Reseller Solutions stopped by. Says good afternoon. Harry is here. We have two Harrys. So we have Harry Briggs is here, and I want to give a shout out to Harry Humpstone. eBliss says 3K items, 200K in inventory is amazing. Well done. Let's all hope eBay sales improve for all of us. Yeah, I mean, we're in fourth quarter. We're in November. I mean, sales are going to happen. I mean, I just left the post office and shipped out some packages. Says it's all just a numbers game. Yeah. I mean, in theory, it sounds like a numbers game, but it's like there's some of these people that it's like they can't get past this glass ceiling. It's like they try and try and try, but you only have so many hours in a day. And so it's kind of like you work and work and work, and sometimes it feels like you're a dog running around in circles chasing your tail. So let's talk some more here with JF. We wanted to get to know you a little bit because last month in October, you guys did $20,000 in sales on eBay last month, and that was just last month in October. So talk to me a little bit about what your strategy is. What type of items is it that you guys mainly sell? And talk to us a little bit more about how things are going for you on eBay.
Yeah, so like I said, we're trying to ramp it up. So there's a lot that happened actually. So our average is dropping, and I just want to clarify eBliss sellers. So we started with 3,000 in value. Right now we have about 13,000 items listed for a total of somewhere around the lines of 200,000 of value. But right. So all we did is rinse and repeat the same thing over and over and over, try to get the best deal possible, try and figure out a reasonable price for it where we're making good profit. And we sell a lot of video games. So and at some point, so I'm gonna do a little bit of confession time here. So I'm gonna talk about some of our mistakes, which I feel is something that people I'm blushing right now. I don't like talking about it, but these are things that have happened, and I think people don't talk about this enough.
Go for it. You have the floor. Go ahead.
Yeah. So here's some mistakes that we've done. So so we had a working model, right, where we would buy. So our most profitable and our most common purchase is a bundle of games, like a bundle that's a console and a bunch of games and a bunch of accessories that we try and only pay what we can get all our money back with the console sale. So in other words, if we buy a PlayStation 3 that's worth $120 and it comes with 20 games and 2 controllers, we only want to pay $120 because that's what we can, or less, of course, because that's what we can get back with the sale of the console. So anything else that's left over is free, like it's already paid. So anything else is just profit. So we were doing that over and over and over. And then in April, I went full time. So there's like that extra pressure. And I think it was in June, we got one of our suppliers who approached us with this really ridiculous item. And it's essentially, without going into too much detail, it's a really rare item. So rare, I didn't even know that it existed. It's called an Exertainment Super Nintendo exercise bike. And it was essentially an exercise bike that you could plug into your Super Nintendo. Imagine 25 years ago. And you could, whatever you would do on your little bike would happen on the screen. But I mean, we paid thousands of dollars for this and it didn't sell. So it totally killed our cash flow, but it was a risk that we took, and it was a calculated risk. But then we had to adjust because we had less money coming in because we dropped all this money that was locked up. So right. What we did is that we bought a lot of DVDs and a lot of Blu-rays and a lot of music CDs. And those are things that they're not exciting, but they get the job done, if I can say it that way, right? So
Yeah.
if I pay 50 cents for a DVD and I can sell it for $7 or $8, that means I'm making, after shipping and all that, I'm probably making about $4 or $5 of profit, which doesn't sound like a lot, and it's not, but it is a lot compared to how much I paid for it. So that means I'm multiplying my investment by 10. So right now in our store, we have thousands of music CDs, thousands of DVDs and all that stuff. And that's kind of the core of the store now. So the store is kind of filled with this lower value stuff.
Yeah.
But to get to that next level, we need to stop buying so much of that and focusing on the better deals. And actually, I'm excited about a deal that I got today, if I can just show it.
Go ahead. First of all, I just want to say something real quick because you know, if you guys hear me on my YouTube channel, I talk about, you know, getting small wins like this all the time, selling small items, CDs, DVDs, Blu-rays, VHS tapes, video games, small lightweight items that you can easily fit in like a little 6x9 padded envelope like this. Try to find items that you can pick up. Like JF is telling you, when you're picking up an item for 50 cents and you're selling it for 10, 15, $20, all those small sales start adding up as well. I mean, you know, he's just telling you guys last month in October, he did over $20,000 last month in sales. So not every one of them has to be a $50 or $100 sale. A lot of them are $7, $8, $10, $15, $20 sales. And all these little micro transactions add up as well. So I just want you guys to hear that, because I don't want you guys to think, oh, that's just Jeff talking out of his butt. Like, no, this is what this guy's all the way in Canada, and they're one of the largest resellers in Canada, and they have over 13,000 items listed, and he did over $20,000 in sales last month doing the same things that I tell you guys to do all the time. You know, so if you can pick up an item for, like I said, a quarter, 50 cents, and you can turn around and sell it for $10, that's a 20x rate of return on your money, not counting, you know, your cost of goods and fees and all of that. But you just have to look at, okay, versus he paid a big large lump sum of money for one big item, and now he's stuck with this one big heavy item, you know? So let me say hello real quick to some people in the chat. I want to give a shout out to the Flippin' Sports guy. eBliss Reseller Solutions says smalls are nice and bread and butter items, but it's a volume game. I wanted to say hey to Harry Humstone is in the chat. Anytime Picker. I wanted to give a shout out to Rampage Reseller and Las Vegas Thrifts. So we had a few questions in the chat real quick that I want to get to. eBliss says, hey, question for JF. Can you tell us about your warehouse and your SKU inventory system? Now, I saw you on Instagram, and he has just thousands and thousands of items lined up. So talk to us real quick about your inventory system.
Yeah, so up until a few months ago, we were doing everything out of a garage. So, I mean, I get it. Like we're a pretty big store, but like we're just two guys with a couple helpers getting the job done. Like anyone can do what we do, and some people can probably do it better, but it's just about consistency. So we had everything in our garage. So you have to look at, okay, without having to rent a space, how much space do I actually have? How can I maximize that space? So we started, and like this was Jeremy's garage, my business partner. He had crap everywhere. Like, I mean, it's a garage. It's like whatever, right? So we had to make piles of his stuff and then just organize it as neatly as we can. We paid his father to build shelves that were stacked. Someone made the comment that our garage looked more like a GameStop than an actual garage. We bought these, what's it called? Resin, like plasticky shelves to stack things. So usually you have more vertical space than horizontal space. So just use the space that you have. And really, we don't have a SKU system, but the way that we do it is we have all the same types of items in one place. So what I mean by that is we have a wall of Xbox 360 games, and we have a wall of Nintendo Wii games, and they're all in alphabetical order, more or less. And so everything is where it should be. And I'm going to say this. We don't use any special software. We don't use any special equipment. We don't use anything at all other than the computer and the eBay system. So whatever
Yeah.
we do, anyone can do it. And just to
Right.
print, right? I mean, whatever, right? So we don't have any special hacks. We're just doing what we do.
Right.
But we're using logic. So common sense isn't always common practice. So I mean, if you picture the space, there's areas for everything. So when we have accessories for PlayStation, that's all in one box. When we have accessories for different consoles, that's all in one space. All our comic books are in one area. All our Funko Pops are in a certain area. All the hockey stuff, all the baseball cards and the hockey cards and the Pokemon cards, they're all in binders. I will say about individual cards, what we do is we have a binder with sheets that you can slide the cards in to protect them, and we number the pages, and then in the listing we say this card basically is in binder B page blah blah blah, so we know exactly where to go. We have all our DVDs in the same place in alphabetical order. We have all our music CD, so you can have 13,000 items without having a complicated system. Is it sometimes hard to find things? Sometimes, but most of the time, everything is where it should be, and it's pretty fast. But alphabetical order. It has to be alphabetical order.
Yeah, I have a similar setup as well, where it's like when I go into my shed to pull orders, I know here at the top shelf, I have Blu-rays at the top shelf. I have a section for video games, and I'll say, okay, this PS2 game sold, it's in the PS2 game section. So you know what section to pull from, and you just kind of you run my finger down and say, okay, I'm looking for Dynasty Warriors 4 or whatever. Scroll through it, find it, grab it, pull it, package, ship it. It doesn't really take that long as you think, because like I said, I have 6,500 items, and JF here has got 13,000. So you guys can do it. It's possible to do. Let me give a shout out here. Rampage Reseller says, I collect and resell games as well. Do you collect as well, or do you just sell? And what is your most expensive flip that you've had so far?
Yeah, so it breaks my heart to say that I sold my collection a while ago. I had a Sega Genesis collection. It was so good, so good. But I sold it a while ago. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. So now I collect some Switch games, but Jeremy is also collecting. So we do collect some things, but the main goal of this for us is to make profit. But there are some people who keep the things they want to collect and just resell the rest, which is pretty cool. What is our most expensive game flip? We sold, and I wish I could show you the picture, but I can't because it's such an old listing now. But we sold, I think it was for $500. It was a limited edition Mega Man original Nintendo game, sealed, and it was a thing about that the art. So I don't know if you've ever played Mega Man, but his arm is a gun. But on the art of this game, he was holding a gun. So it was like this whole big thing. So I think we sold that for $500. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Harry asked the question, says, how long ago did you start reselling on eBay? So we talked about that earlier. Tell them a little bit about that. How long ago you started selling on eBay?
Yeah, so I mean, I'd sold on and off on eBay for years before now, but I never, like, it was just like when I wanted to pawn off my collection, I went there. When my family wanted to get rid of something, I would sell on there. But it wasn't like a business or anything like that. But this specific store that we've built from nothing, so it started with nothing, is a year and a half, or actually less than that. We started in July of last year, so that would be 16 months, and we're already where we're at now.
Yeah, and Harry asked a question. Harry Humpstone says, so do you like selling mostly video games? So tell them a little bit about what all type of items you sell out of your eBay store, because you have 13,000 now.
Yeah, so you're asking me if I like it. I mean, I find video games interesting, so that part of it I like. And it's fun in the sense that I see a lot of things in the reselling that I would never have seen if I wasn't reselling. So just really cool items, interesting games that I never would have thought existed, and things like that. Would I say that is the best business to be in, or it's the best category to resell? I don't know, but it works for us. But we sell a lot of, so it's important to sell something that you have good margin on and that's easy to ship, like Jeff was saying. And most games will fit in one of those little bubble mailers that you have in those envelopes. So it's not too complicated to price for the shipping costs. It's not too complicated to pack, and it's very rare that they get broken. Although I hear that in the States, there's a lot of problems with USPS, but that's a whole other thing, that they're like running it over with their cars or whatever. But I mean, you can't control what the postal service will do. But so we sell a lot of cards, like collectible cards, mostly Pokemon, but we also have Magic cards and hockey cards and whatever. We have a lot of DVDs, like I said. We have a lot of CDs. We have a lot of collectibles, like old signs, vintage paper, like just the randomest stuff. Like if you see something that's old, like really old, like 20 to 30 years old, it's probably worth $10, like, or more. And you can probably get it for 25 cents or 50 cents. It's crazy.
It is crazy. I was gonna say, I was at a thrift store yesterday and I picked up some VHS tapes that were new, sealed in the shrink wrap for 25 cents a piece. And it's just like what he was talking about, is if you see something that's 20, 25, 30 years old, they don't make it anymore, and you find it new in the shrink wrap and you're picking it up for a quarter or 50 cents, you grab it and scan the barcode, you'd be surprised what it would sell for,
Yeah, and those VHS, without knowing anything about them, they're probably worth anywhere between $10 and $40 each.
Right, that's what I'm saying, and they add up. Go ahead.
Yeah, so and anytime you can find something sealed, it has more value, obviously.
Right.
So other than that, we have a lot of collectibles. We've got action figures. We have like ornaments, but like in Canada, those are kind of a pain to ship because they're expensive to ship for whatever reason. But so we experiment, right? And not every experiment is a booming success, but by trying things, you get to know, okay, this works. This doesn't work so well. This works really well. And, then you kind of adjust and see how much of that you can source. So that's kind of what I was trying to say, is source as much as you can of what's the good stuff for your category. But so one thing that we realized is that we can probably only reach 6,000. Like we're probably going to be topped out at about 6,000 weekly with games and like what we're doing now. So we need to branch out in different categories of higher quality, higher price tag things to reach the 10,000. Because, I mean, think about how many DVDs, how many $10 DVDs you're going to have to sell to get to 10,000 weekly. Like, it's massive. You'd have to sell like 1,000 every week. And who wants to package 1,000 orders? Nobody wants to do that. So it would be better to sell 100 things that are worth $100 than 1,000 things that are worth 10. But you have to have that balance in your store so that the small stuff brings the traffic in. And then they're like, oh, you have, so like, for example, in Jeff's store, you have a lot of movies. Someone's going to be like, oh, I want this movie. Oh, you have that and that and that. It's like they're in a store and they're picking movies out, and all of a sudden they're buying 7 or 8 movies. I'm sure you have this happen from time to time, and it's so nice because you only have to pay the shipping once. But
and usually it's media mail shipping, and it's like $3 a ship here in the U.S. because it's media mail and it's under £1. But what I was going to say is, when you have some of these $10, $15 sales, I don't know how or why, but it triggers the eBay computer algorithm, and now all of a sudden the higher ticket items start selling. It's like, I don't know how it does it, but it's like you'll get like a $10 sale, and all of a sudden like 3 or 4 or 5 sales will happen back to back to back. Does that ever happen to you, JF?
Yeah, so basically what's happening there, and I'm not like an expert on the whole algorithm thing, but there's so many weird things that happen that you kind of
like, there's something going on here, right?
Yeah, so basically what's happening is anytime you get an offer, anytime you sell something, and anytime you ship something, the eBay algorithm likes that. So what that means is they'll usually send you traffic, which is not necessarily for the expensive stuff, but sometimes it can be. And so it kind of refreshes your store, and it's like you're in an attrition battle with every other store, and whoever has the most volume and the most like positive feedback and like all these things are playing into them sending you more traffic, because at the end of the day, they want you to sell so that they can get their fees from you. So if you're selling, they're going to send you more people so that you can sell more, so they can make more money. And yeah, so I think we got a couple questions here.
Yep. So we had a question from Rampage Reseller. He says, any certain DVDs to keep an eye out for? For right now, I would tell you one thing, that the horror genre, like, you know, scary movies, those things, that people collect them, and they're valued higher than other ones. A lot of ones that are discontinued that they don't make anymore. And anything that you see new sealed, like we were talking about, if you go to the pawn shop, I'll have to shoot a video for you guys, but there's a section with maybe 500 or 1,000 DVDs at the pawn shop. What I do to go through it quickly is I'll just pull out a row, and then any of them that's new, sealed in the shrink wrap, I just grab them and set them off to the side. But if you see some that is like, especially like some scary movie or horror genre, those sell really well. But like I said, it could be anything. I mean, I've seen exercise videos sell, where people do these inside exercise videos sell. I've seen some, you know, historical, you know, some history documentary movies sell. So different type of stuff sells. But the best thing to do, I don't have any with me, is just scan the barcode and it will tell you. It'll show you what the sales are for the past 90 days. But if you're in a hurry, I would either go through and cherry pick the ones that are new in the shrink wrap, grab those, or just buy big, huge bulk lots of stuff. Because when you're buying stuff in bulk lots, you're getting stuff for a quarter or 50 cents a piece. You're going to make a profit. You can't lose on when you're buying stuff that's new in the shrink wrap and you're having it shipped to your door, and you're buying 500 or 1,000 at a time, and you're getting them for a quarter, 50 cents a piece. You're going to flip them and make a profit. Let's just say, like JF was saying earlier, let's just say it's a $10 item times 500. Okay. And let's say out of that 500, let's say you paid 50 cents a piece. So your buy cost is $250. And let's just say 500 times $10, you should be able to turn your initial $250 investment into like $5,000 worth of inventory. So do you have any particular DVDs that we should be on the lookout for that you could think of off the top of your head?
Yeah, so not specific ones, like a specific name for them, but I just to add on to what you were saying. So anything that's sealed obviously has more value, but even if it's not sealed, if you see, so I'll say Christian movies are worth more, horror movies are worth more, weird movies are worth more. Like if you see a cover and you're like, what is that? Or I've never heard of this, chances are it's worth more. And I'm going to say, ignore popular movies because they've made trillions of those. And because there's so many on the market, I'm exaggerating, but they've made a lot more of those. So because there's so many of them, they're not worth as much. So I would have thought that Marvel Avengers or Spider-Man or this or that would have been worth, you know, $15, $20, but they're only worth $5 or $6 because they made so many of them. But you can have like this obscure horror movie with actors that nobody know, and it could be 20 or 25. Other than that, I just wrote down some stuff. Concerts, like music concerts, usually sell better. So like an average DVD will sell for 10 or less. If it's sealed, it could be 10 to 15, depending. But concerts would be 10 to 20. But if it's well, I don't know, some will sell for more. And anything that's, here's one. Anything that's the Olsen twins is worth more. Which is totally weird, but they have a few like really weird movies that are worth 30 or 40 or $50. And also don't pay more for Blu-rays as opposed to DVDs because you can get almost the same amount. That's one thing that we learned is that people usually want like $2 for a Blu-ray, but we get the same amount of money that we would get for a DVD, and the DVD we only pay like 25 cents or 50 cents. And there's something I didn't even know it existed. Is called HD DVD, and that was basically the runner-up to Blu-ray that didn't work out. But those are worth more. So those are worth $15 to $30 each. So we've only had a few of those, but they sell pretty well.
And it's crazy. Like you said, you may get something like popular movie like Harry Potter or Pirates of the Caribbean, and you think, oh man, this will sell quick. But the problem is it's about supply and demand. If there's 50 other sellers that are all selling the same item as you, it may sit for a while. But if you find some obscure concert CD, or you find something that's been discontinued, they haven't made in 20 years, it's always the ones that you've never seen or heard of before, and you're like, what is this? And those are the ones that sell like instantly because there's not a bunch of them in circulation. So Harry wants to know, what did you start selling? So when you initially took your $3,000, you guys invested it into reselling. What did you guys originally start selling? Was it video games?
Yeah, so when we first started, Jeremy got his hands on about 2/3 of that was video games, and the other was like a really nice collection of a little bit of everything. There was sports cards, Funko Pops, action figures for like hockey players. Like it was basically someone was liquidating their garage, and he paid $1,000 for it, and it was thousands and thousands and thousands of value. It was almost like buying a storage locker of stuff. And it was boxes and boxes. There were die-cast cars like Hot Wheels and like cop cars, like bigger ones. And we still have a few, but almost all of them sold. Like a little bit of everything. Bobbleheads of hockey players, like the randomest stuff. And a big collection of Volkswagen Beetle diecast cars. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. So Ebla says, hey, question. Does it make sense to bundle DVDs according to genre to get a higher average sell price, or would you sell them individually?
Yeah, so it really depends. So in Canada, again, shipping cost is different. So for me, shipping 2 DVDs is only a little bit more than shipping 1, but shipping 3 is a lot more. So it doesn't make as much sense in Canada, but in the States, where for you have more leeway there, it could make sense. But I mean, it depends how much time it takes you to do that. If it takes you too much time to sort them and to do all that, generally speaking, I only bundle them up if it's the same series or the same show, or like, I'll just give the example of Sex and the City, not something that I watch, but there's like 8 seasons or 7 seasons, and we have complete sets of them all, and we sell those together. Or we'll sell, just whatever, something like that, where you have a bunch of them together. Or if you have a box set, which is already more expensive to ship, then you could tack on, like if you have a box set of horror movies or whatever, you could tack on a few other horror movies that you have, so that you can kind of combine shipping on them for yourself to save money. So that's where I think that would make sense.
Yeah, I think it would just depend. I mean, some of these use the DVDs, so honestly, some of them may only sell for $4, $5, $6. Yeah. And at that point, if you're like, okay, I could sell them for $5 individually, or I could get a stack of 10 of them and maybe sell them for a bundle for $50 or something, as opposed to, you having items taking up space in your store that are $4, $5, $6 items. But if you have some items and it's going to sell for at least $10 or more, I would list them individually. It just depends on how much time you want to take to list and what you want your average sell price to be, and depends on what genre it is. But usually 9 times out of 10, I just list them individually. If they're new in the shrink wrap, I don't have a lot of headache here. So Jeff, I wanted to pick your brain real quick. What is some of your goals that you have in the future for your business? I know we briefly touched on it earlier. Says that you wanted to do $10,000 a month in sales. So talk to me a little bit about what your goals are, because you guys just started about a year and a half, 18 months ago, and you're already doing $20,000 a month in sales on eBay. So, I mean, to me, it's kind of like, let's just take little baby steps and just incrementally grow the business. Like, what is your goal in the future, like in the next 3, 4, or 5 years? And talk a little bit about what your strategy is to help grow and scale your business.
Yeah, that's a great question. So this is probably my favorite part of business, is to plan and to really have, like, in the motivational space, this is your why. Like, why are you doing all this, and like, what's the point of it all? But so for us, before the summer, we were averaging about 6,000 a week, and that is an amount where we're very comfortable financially for the two business partners, and where we can pay a couple employees for the things that we need that kind of take up a lot of time, like the packing, the shipping, and some listing. So we actually have a guy who's fantastic at listing. We just only have so much money to go around to pay him. But if we had more, we could pay him more. And it's kind of the same with the shipping. So anyone can ship something and anyone can list something. So what's some of the things that only you can do, and focus on those things. So our first goal is to consistently do 6,000 per week, even in the slowdown. So it's basically about, so now our store is flooded with small stuff. So now it's turning the tap off on the small stuff and going all out on $50 items, $100 items, and like we're gonna branch off into in phones, cell phones, and like more electronics or whatever. But we're trying to think outside the box on, okay, what's something that's readily available that we can source regularly because we want to sell a lot of it, right? But that's worth $50 or more. That's kind of we're trying to change our mindset now, because we used to buy massive amounts of, like, we'd buy 2,000 DVDs here, 3,000 CDs there, but it's such a massive amount of time to list that we're trying to get to that 10,000. So 10,000 is the ultimate goal. If we got to that amount, I mean, we'd both be making over 100 grand a year in salary. We'd have a few people to help us out. There would be enough money in the business to grow. That's like the golden nugget. I know that's a weird term, but just the golden
Right.
whatever. That's the big goal. But to get there, we also want to not be at the top of the mountain and be overwhelmed with work. So we don't want to be at that 10,000 and have to ship 1,000 things a week. Like, we want to increase the average value so that we can get the more bang out of our buck. So the positive of what we've done already is that everything's already paid off, and all the money that's coming in is free money that we've already, you know what I'm saying, right? Like that stuff's already all paid off and is just profit coming in. So now we can use that money to get those great bundles. And actually, that brings me to another point. We're trying to focus more on the great deals and less on the good deals or the okay deals. Because if you buy too many good deals, you're probably going to run out of money for when that amazing deal comes along. And those amazing deals don't stay on the market for long because someone else is going to buy it. Like you said, if we're competing with each other, it's whoever pays first that wins. So
Yeah.
you want to have, I mean, we want to have as much profit as possible with as little work as possible, right? So that way we can really leverage our time as much as we can. So those are the big picture. That's kind of the goal for the store. But we want to have it grow so that slowly we can kind of take a step back and have it run itself to some degree. Now, we're not there yet, but anybody can be trained to do what we do, right? So if you get big enough, you can just pay somebody.
Yeah. So Jeff, I got to pick your brain before we let you go. What would be your top 3 piece of advice that you could give to somebody to help and grow and scale their business? Because I'm at 6,500 items active on my store, and I always kind of like, man, that's a lot of work. And then when I talk to somebody like you, and you're like, oh yeah, that's nothing. I got 13,000 items listed. So how does somebody grow and scale their business? Because you guys did this in 18 months. So how do you go from zero, or wherever you are right now, to grow to scale your business to get 13,000 items active listed in your store, to grow to scale your business where you can get $20,000 in sales last month of October? Like, what would be like 3 tips or piece of advice to help grow and scale your business? Because you crank out a lot of listings, and some people, it's almost like a chore to them. Like, they love sourcing, but they hate listing. So what kind of, because it's easy to come home and find the items and then just set them on the floor. But like, how do you go about getting motivated, getting these listings up, packing, shipping, pulling orders, answering customers' annoying questions? Tell us your top 3 tips to help us grow and scale your business from 0 to 20K. What do we need to do?
Yeah, if it's not listed, it's not going to sell. So if you want to actually make sales, you need to list what you have sourced. So another thing, and this is kind of psychological, don't compare yourself too much to others, right? So your store is really big. Like it's 6,500 items is massive. And ours is only bigger because there was 2 of us, really. So, I mean, if I was alone, I'd probably be in the same boat as you would be, right? So it's comparable.
Yeah.
But start where you are with what you have, set a goal, and do what you need to do to get there. So if like, I think most stores have around 100 items or like 200 items, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you say people hate listing, and you're right, and they love sourcing. But so if you're listing one item a day, I mean, that limits you a lot. So maybe if you go from 1 to 5, I mean, no matter what you're selling, I mean, you can list 5 listings in 30 minutes or less, depending on what it is. So you went from growing at a certain pace, and now you're going to grow 5 times as fast because you're listing 5 times as much. And try to only buy what you can list in a reasonable time frame. So, I mean, when you get bigger and you have a bunch of sales, I mean, you can get away with what we're getting away with buying like these gigantic deals and taking months to list them and all that stuff. But when you're first starting out, you don't want to have stuff that's just going to sit there. You want it to sell as soon as possible. And I am going to say something else. So one of the mistakes, another mistake that we made was waiting too long to adjust our prices. So we're kind of thinking like, okay, we're just going to throw more listings in there and the sales are going to show up and everything's going to be great and everything's going to fix itself. And it doesn't always work out that way. So what we actually did recently is, so we've been selling about 1% of our DVD inventory per week. And we were selling about 0.5% of our music CD inventory per week. So that meant that there was a problem there in my head. So we dropped all our prices for all our CDs by about 15%. And now it's like boom, 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 boom. A lot of items have that magical price point where you're still making money, probably a little less than what you would have ideally wanted, but now it's moving because you need to get the store moving. Because if you get to a store like ours and you have 13,000 items, if they're not selling, eBay is going to send you less and less traffic because they're losing money sending people to you.
Also, you have stale inventory, you have dead stock inventory, and you have money tied up in that merchandise. And now it's like you have this money. It's like an anchor, and it's flowing you down because you have money tied up in the inventory. Even if it's 50 cents or $1 or whatever it is, you have money tied up in the inventory, and it's just stale inventory. So yeah, I agree with you of getting stuff moving. Go ahead.
Yeah, so by playing around with your pricing, I mean, 15% was kind of drastic, but I knew that those prices for certain things were a little inflated. But so we adjusted our pricing recently, and it has made a significant difference in those categories.
Yeah.
And, put best offer on a lot of your stuff that you have margin to do that. And people will send you offers. Sending you offers is good for the algorithm. eBay likes that.
Sending offers to watchers.
Yeah, and don't accept ridiculous offers, like really bad offers, but it gets it moving. It gets
it triggers the algorithm. You ever had somebody that send you an offer? Let's say you had an item listed for $20. Someone sent you an offer of $10 and you declined it, and like 5 minutes later, someone shows up and buys that item for full asking price.
Yes.
Like it triggers that algorithm in the eBay algorithm. So yeah, what he's saying is when you turn or best offers on, it's like it like pushes your items higher up on the charts as far as getting it listed on eBay. So go ahead, Jeff. Do you have any other tips or tricks or advice you can leave us with?
Take a look. So you mentioned stale inventory. So stale has a different expiry date depending on who you ask. But if you've had something listed that's just like a normal item, like not a collector's item, not something that's particularly valuable, if it's been there for more than a month or two, you need to change something. You probably either need to bring the price down or change the pictures. Maybe your pictures aren't that good. And like, I mean, obviously if you have 13,000, if you have thousands of listings, it's really hard to do that like on a lot of things. But when you're just starting out, like if you have less than 1,000 listings, it's more, and you can see how long something's been listed. So go see your old inventory. And I mean, every time you walk in your garage or your space, you're going to see it and you're going to be like, man, that's still there. So you need to do things to get things moving to get your money back, like you said, so that you can buy something else that's actually going to sell.
Right. Okay. Let me give a shout out to a few people in the chat. Eblis Reseller says, great interview, guys. I appreciate it. Hey, we appreciate you for being here. I want to give a shout out to my buddy, Cali Reseller Louise. He's coming up on 1,000 subscribers. So if you get a chance, go by and support him. Wanted to say hello to Javela Flips. Annie is here. And I wanted to say hey to the Flippin' Sports guy. And Amazon Seller 99 says, hey guys, I think Jeff is right on with the Blu-rays, except if they're new. Yeah, man, if you guys go to the Dollar Tree, you can get brand new Blu-rays at the Dollar Tree for $1 a piece all day long if you just go by and check it out. Anyways, I could probably talk to you for another hour, but JF, tell everybody where they can go by and check you out at on YouTube and Instagram so they can go by and follow you.
Yeah, so on YouTube and Instagram, we're Resale Heroes, just about like it's written there. And we post content regularly, and come hang out with us.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. Now, do you have any final thoughts or words of wisdom you can leave our audience with?
Yeah, I didn't realize how much work it would be when I went full time. So there's a saying that says, when you knock on the door of opportunity, don't be surprised that it's work that answers. However, anyone can learn to do this, but also anyone can learn to do it better. So we constantly are trying to improve certain things. So like right now, one of the things that takes us a lot of time. So right now we're selling anywhere between 150 to 200 items a week. And that takes a lot of time to package and ship. So one of the things we're looking at now is, okay, this is probably the one thing that takes up the most time in our week. That's not like as productive. So what can we do to speed this up? So we're kind of working on certain things. So you need to kind of have a mindset, not to be critical of yourself, but to be critical of your processes and the way that you do things.
Yeah.
Maybe once a week, try to improve something once a week. And if you get a little better every week, I mean, no one can stop you. You'll be unstoppable.
Yeah, well, just make changes as you go along. You know, there's an old saying, a quote that I heard that says, people often miss opportunities because it's dressed in overalls and looks like work. So as long as you guys are willing to hustle and you're willing to put the work in, you can do this. JF just started from zero 18 months ago, and now him and his partner is doing $20,000 a month on eBay. So, and he's willing to do that starting from zero. So if you guys are just willing to hustle and put the work in, you can do this. Anyways, all the links are going to be down below. You can go ahead and follow our guests. Resale Heroes from Canada. Tomorrow, I have a brand new show that I'm working on. It's called the Resellers Roundtable. So it's going to be tomorrow on Saturday at 4 p.m. And it's just going to be me and probably 3 or 4 other resellers. And we're just going to hang out and chit chat and talk about, hey, what's working in your business, what's not working, and kind of put your feet to the fire a little bit and hold each other accountable. So if you guys want to come by and hang out, we'll see you tomorrow on Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern. And we're going to do the Resellers Roundtable. If not, hopefully you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you guys later. You guys have a great one. We'll catch you guys later. Bye, everybody.